We're it's preparing the live
Meeting
stream
is
right
now
now.
streaming live on YouTube. All right, there you go. All right. What's up? What's up? What's up? Holy moly. What a goddamn day, Rob. You know, sometimes, so we recorded an episode this morning, about 11 a.m. And the big news we were talking about, really big news, was the Senate runoff elections. And every now and then when you're in this business, you do a podcast and then some big news happens and you're like, shit, now we don't get to talk about this for like 2 days. But it's
the Bigaloo, baby. I'm on team Chief guy. That's why I got my hat. You got to start picking sides, and I'm going team Chief.
I tweeted this today, but I was joking, but there was a part of me that was kind of serious where I was like, please don't let me see a part of the problem t-shirt in the middle of all of this. Like it's just not great for the old image. But anyway, every now and then there's something big enough where you're like, no, I think we actually got to jump on a fucking stream and talk about this now.
It's going down. Country's over.
Maybe not quite, but it certainly was. That was something today. That was something historic for anybody who doesn't know. Is this even necessary to say anybody who doesn't know? There was a big Trump rally protest in Stop the Steal protest in Washington, D.C. And a few hundred people ended up storming the Capitol building. They were able to push their way past the police who were guarding the building and basically took over the building. It was a pretty wild scene. I usually with these things, like I like to usually take a day to think about, kind of get my thoughts together on these things.
This might be our last day to broadcast. It could be over, so we got to take advantage.
Yeah,
we got to get on the air while we can.
But people, one of the things that was like during the debates, during the election season, one of the things that's really popular that people like to do is like live stream the debates, and that people were like, oh look man, you should do this, you get big download numbers or big viewer numbers off of that. And I was always kind of like, yeah, but I want to watch the debate, take it in, think about it, and then give you my take on it. I don't want to react to it live time with like half thought out ideas. So, this was a few hours ago. Let me try to get my thoughts together on what I think, the significance of this is, my take on the whole situation. You give your take, of course, on the whole thing. And it's almost hard to not start with all of the hypocrisy that you see from so many different groups. But let me try not to do that. Let me just start by saying this, okay? I think many people who are in our space have conflicting feelings about something like this, because you're kind of simultaneously horrified and it's kind of cathartic also in a weird way, right? But let me just start off by saying that I think what happened today was terrible. And I think it was just terrible all around. It was terrible in terms of what ended up happening. And it was terrible in terms of what the outcome ultimately of all of this will be. It's not what many in the press are trying to make this out to be. This was not a coup attempt. This wasn't this was not like a well-organized militia storming the Capitol building. This was a mob that got excited and fucking went for it. Now, I mean, I don't know whether it was pre-planned or not. My guess is not. My guess is that this was just in the moment, facing off with police. They're furious and they just stormed through. But nobody was armed. People weren't, running in. This wasn't like running in to execute politicians or something like that. But while this was not an attempted coup, as is being reported, they were LARPing as if they were attempting a coup. They were kind of like, it was almost like, in the same way that I knocked the Chaz guys in Seattle, where you're kind of like, oh, you guys are playing pretend, secession, or this was like almost like, oh, we're gonna play pretend fucking revolution. Wouldn't that be kind of fun? oh yeah, okay, we'll storm in there. And like my point is just like this wasn't an armed militia storming in to fucking execute politicians. These were people storming in to take selfies in Nancy Pelosi's office. And so just saying, when you play these fucking games, I don't know what the fuck you think is going to happen. And unlike even more so than the people in Seattle, it's like, what the fuck do you think is going to happen when you storm the state building? And now this chick got shot in the neck and killed. Like that's the type of thing that's going to happen. So there are a whole bunch of fucking that's like what was accomplished by all of this. It's like, okay, there's a woman who's dead. There's probably several injuries to other people. This is going to make it easy to demonize the Trump supporters, demonize conservatism. It will surely lead to nothing but less liberty, right? Like this is going to make it much easier. They're going to use this as an excuse to crack down now on dissidents, on whatever, gun owners, on right wingers, whatever the excuse they can use. And oh, by the way, at the end of all of this, Joe Biden's still going to be the president. Like this, so on every level, this was stupid and terrible and destructive. And the only thing that's going to come from this is that you've weakened your own cause. Some chick is dead and a bunch of other people are probably injured. I don't actually know, but I'm assuming there's other injured people. I believe there's just the one dead person there. So I think this is bad. That being said, I saw a couple people were giving me shit on Twitter earlier today, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But some people were saying that if I don't condemn this, which by the way, I'm not condemning anything to please them. I'm just giving you my honest take on this shit. But they were saying if I don't condemn this, then it's hypocrisy because I condemned the riots all summer long, which I think is just so ridiculous. Like I can't, it's actually kind of crazy that a libertarian could even suggest this and doesn't understand the difference. Like, obviously there is a fucking huge difference between storming a government building and just going around and destroying businesses. I'm sorry, that is not the same thing. And these people who think I'm like somehow guilty of hypocrisy on this issue, I mean, like, look, I actually talked about this a bunch with you this summer where I said, like, it goes, look, if Black Lives Matter was just fucking storming a police precinct, it's kind of like, all right. I don't know. They're storming the aggressors. Then I don't know. I don't really know what you can say about that. I mean, I might say like, yeah, it's probably not going to work out well for you. Not a great plan, probably just going to result in blood, but I wouldn't be all like outraged and like fucking, up in arms about it. But if fucking MAGA supporters were going around just smashing businesses apart, killing people, assaulting people, terrorizing people, if they were getting up in the face of people sitting at a restaurant and demanding they scream Donald Trump's your president or something, I would be every bit as outraged. Now, I haven't seen any of that. So there's no hypocrisy here. I would treat it exactly the same. I have one standard. I don't need two. So again, this is different. And libertarians, I'm sorry, it's not so clear cut when you storm the Capitol building. I mean, the Libertarian Party, I believe, called it an act of aggression, of course, because they're the Libertarian Party. And it's like, well, it's a little bit debatable. I mean, who is more guilty of aggression than the United States of America's federal government? They are the aggressors every single fucking day of their lives. And, it's at least these guys were taking it out on the right target, whether or not you agree with what they're there for. Look, like I said, I think it was bad. It's not the same thing that I was outraged about this summer, but I will also say, it was something like a few episodes ago. I remember me and you were talking about how it was almost like they were daring people to rise up. Like it was almost like they were intentionally trying to prod on a revolution. I think we were talking about it when they were, slipping all of that stuff into the COVID relief bill. And we're like, do they just want a fucking revolution in this country? And I do feel like, I don't know, you got people here who have been fucking, locked up for most of the year. Their businesses have been fucking destroyed. They've been called racists if they don't support, riots all across American cities. And of course, from their perspective, the election has been stolen from them. Now, I don't really particularly agree with the last part. I haven't been convinced of that, but I certainly agree with the other parts of it. And they got fucking angry, and they flipped and did something stupid. But I don't know. What are your thoughts from today's crazy events?
All right. Well, off the bat, and I think this might be something that you've said on the show, but isn't it crazy that there are these many people in the world that are this passionate about Donald Trump? Like, I understand being upset with government. What I don't understand is really feeling this passionate about Trump, that like you're willing to, you know what I mean? But I think it's not so much that they like Trump as much as they just hate the current state of the government. And but this is where government's really fucking up, is that either Trump's the world's greatest liar, there was no election fraud, and this guy is so amazing that he's able to, ring together a bullshit story that people are willing to believe. And it's totally not true. Or the election was fucking stolen from him. But it comes back to the point, we need to figure out a way that we can decipher fact from fiction so that you don't have this many people who actually want that. That's what people are really upset about. They're not sure, hey, was this thing stolen or not? And they're pretty convinced that it was. And they're like, well, then fuck this. We're not going to live. You know what I mean? It's not so much Trump support as much as it's fuck this. I'm not living in some country, banana republic, where someone can just steal an election against the guy that I wanted to elect.
Yeah.
And so we've got to figure out how to not be living in this gray space where is government brushing shit under the rug, or is Trump just a fucking liar?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's right. I mean, I don't know. I don't fucking know. But even all of that stuff aside, because, we have talked about the fucking, the election fraud issue and all of that. And I'm not really convinced one way or the other. But it is, worth pointing out that it's not as if these people are storming the fucking Capitol building because they, want to, it's not as if like, oh, there's this tyrannical government and we're storming this building to overthrow this tyrannical government. I mean, it seems like many of them are quite happy keeping this tyrannical government as long as it's their prison guard in charge. So I don't know, like, that to me is far from a worthy, cause.
There were some real oddities, which the first one being how easily they took it and the lack of security.
Oh, really, man, that is such a good point. Yes.
Really does make it look like maybe there were hired people there who walked in first and everyone's like, oh, I guess we're walking in. Now, I'm not saying that is what happened, but I'm just saying it is so odd, the lack of security and the lack of pushback. I mean, I would have thought right off the bat, there's a lot more security and they're shooting at the doors. Well, look, I wouldn't have thought they're just like, oh, I guess they're walking in here. All right.
You're absolutely right. That's an excellent point. And look, if anything good is to come out of this, which I don't think good will come out of this, but if anything good does come out of this, it's like, number one, it definitely scared the shit out of a bunch of politicians, but it is really something to behold, to see that like this could be done this easily. I mean, like I said at the beginning, like this wasn't a fucking, armed militia looking for a fucking revolution, but you're almost like, oh man, what if it was? I mean, if it was, it seems like, oh my God, they could really do some damage. Like this, they could really get in there and just fucking take it easily. And to think that after all, like just think since 9/11, forget even before then when this was already true, but the incredible like national security apparatus, the hundreds of billions of dollars, I mean, over the years, trillions of dollars that's spent on what is known as defense for the United States federal government. I mean, it's literally, I mean, what is it, like $700 billion a year, 700 and change $billion a year, really like $1 trillion a year total, if you look at all of it. And they still just literally just a group of unarmed people just stormed their way in and could be taking selfies in Nancy Pelosi's office. And it's surreal to see. And perhaps there's some value in everybody they're seeing that like it, just how unbelievably incompetent the whole thing is. You're like, yeah, these guys can't even protect their own state, building. They can't fucking distribute, stimulus checks. They can't distribute a vaccine. These guys can't do anything. And maybe that could
or they wanted it. I'm just gonna throw the conspiracy out there.
Yeah. No, look, I mean, that is,
Otherwise, this
possible.
is like if you came across a mansion with your friends and you were debating whether or not to rob it, and you're like, oh, look, the door's open. You can just walk right into this place. Might as well grab some shit.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's definitely
the other interesting thing to see. Here's how, governments actually get toppled. Here's the way it happens. You got incidents like this. People see it on TV and go, oh shit, it's going down. They show up. Someone's got to call in the military because there's enough people there. And the military goes, hey, we're not siding with the government. Now, this does not seem to be escalating in that way, but this is the way that shit gets kicked off. Now, here's my question for you. I don't have television here. I get my news online, and I was finding the only way to kind of really see what was going on was basically Twitter coverage. Didn't seem like, because they were downplaying the size of the actual amount of people that showed up in Washington. Now they seem to be telling me that there's curfew and everything's under control, but I seem to be seeing random footage online that doesn't look like anything's under control whatsoever. So I'm curious what you're thinking of, like the general coverage, and if they're trying to, I guess, downplay chaos.
Oh, well, the coverage basically at this point from what I've seen is like, these are neo-Nazi terrorists, and Trump has instigated this. And by him, saying that the election was stolen, of course it would lead to this. And it's just like, the thing is, and this is why it's like a fucking bad idea. It's not that I'm not sympathetic. Obviously, everybody listening to this who knows me, it's not that I'm not sympathetic to people who fucking hate the government, feel like they're being screwed out of this shit. It's just like, this is a rigged game, and now you've played into their hands, where this will be easy now to demonize this group of people. So that's what they're doing. That's what they're in the business of doing. By the way, Twitter has, and this is something that I kind of predicted right, they've suspended Donald Trump's Twitter account and said that he will be banned off Twitter, even though Donald Trump was asking his people to be peaceful and respect, that they still suspended him and banned him off there. But of course, also because he's Donald Trump, he's like, everyone should be peaceful, but they stole the election. They stole it big time. We won huge. And, so he won't let go of that. But whatever. But, so this is the perfect narrative. There's talk about bringing up more articles of impeachment, Mike Pence invoking the 25th Amendment. By the way, Pence and Trump had a big split today, that's a whole nother interesting thing. Maybe we'll talk about that for a couple minutes, but I want to stay on this stuff first. I guess let's talk about some of the hypocrisy.
Can I just say one more oddity?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
I thought it was pretty cool that even though they stormed the building, they didn't go like high school, flipping over desks, just pulling down paintings. It seemed like they were just thrilled enough to be like, hey, we're inside of here.
Oh, dude, it was it was so weird. I saw like live, news coverage, like fucking, I think PBS had like a journalist in there at one point, and she's walking around and she's like showing the people, and there's like people walking around like,
dude, hey, I've been inside there. Those
cool. Like, what is this? This
dude, those paintings are really nice. Have you ever been inside the Capitol building?
I think when I was a little kid.
I was inside of it once. It's beautiful. I don't know. They had one artist who did like most of the work. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess the guy was admiring the work, but the other thing, dude, is like people are like taking, this is the thing. Like, I almost feel like sometimes, I'm not against a revolution, but if you're going to do the revolution, you better be prepared to fucking, for what you're doing here. And I see these people like taking like selfies and posting them online, like with no mask on or anything, just posting their face. And you're like, dude, I mean, you're going to be looking at a decade in prison.
Do you think they're going to
come out of all this?
Do you think after the fact they're going to start? Because that's what I was saying about all the protests thus far, is that it's odd to me that they're not using facial recognition technology to track these people down on the crimes that they've done. In this case, no one's wearing masks. And there's a lot of footage of people just kind of walking around inside the Capitol building. Do you think after the fact, they're like over the next couple months, they're going to be rounding these people up?
Yes, I think this is different, and I think they will. This is government protecting government. This is, you started fucking with the people that actually matter, from their perspective. And I think that, It's like, dude, you could see it also just in the corporate press. It's like the same way. It's like, no, this really matters. And this is what's so frustrating about fucking like, a lot of, the Beltway libertarian types and the Libertarian Party or whoever runs the fucking Twitter handle in them. Oh, they can't wait to come out and condemn this. See, this is really fucking bad. And that's the whole corporate press attitude. It's like, well, now you're scaring politicians. Like, see, this is like really serious. I mean, it's sure all summer long when you're just terrorizing someone who owns a diner, that is what it is. It's the excesses, the riots are the voice of the marginalized and all this stuff. Oh, are there some quotes from this summer that are just lovely to throw back in people's faces? But now you broke into a state building. This is what will condemn it. The fucking libertarian.
Everyone just has to do, I got pushed by the mob defense. I had no interest in going in. It was just the mob behind me that pushed me into the building.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we'll see.
And then once I was inside, I was just looking for the exit. It's complicated.
Oh, so by the way, the Libertarian Party Twitter account, right? I don't know if you remember this from us talking about it this summer, but they literally had nothing to say about the rioting, the violence, the looting, any of that. One time they condemned it, and it was after I pushed them to do it. It was like after 7 back and forth tweets between me and the Libertarian Party, I finally got them to condemn it. And what they said was, they said, well, it goes without saying, yeah, of course, we're against looting and violence. So when it was that, it went without saying. Months long, the longest sustained riots in my lifetime. After months and months, the whole summer long, they finally said, well, yes, okay, we're against that, but it goes without saying. Only when I pushed them to say that. By the way, they've since unfollowed me on Twitter, the Libertarian Party. You'd think, I mean, I'm one of, if not the biggest recruiter in the party. You'd think maybe they'd want to follow me. I mean, I'd want to follow the guy who is taking over my party, but they unfollowed me for that. Whatever.
Well, they
That's
can't
fine.
follow Jewish Nazis. That's not what the Libertarian Party's about.
Yeah, not yet. But it was a half hour into this before they tweet out. They said, this is not patriotism. This is not protesting. This is reprehensible violence and aggression and needs to stop now. We hope safety for all those who work in the Capitol. So do you just like, it's like, so the Libertarian Party can't stand up for fucking innocent civilians who are being terrorized, but they fucking, the second they get the chance, they'll stand up for all those who work in the Capitol. So, it's like, fucking, unlike these fucking crazy Black Lives Matter and Antifa groups, they attacked the empire. They attacked the fucking center of the empire. And the Libertarian Party is going to defend that shit. It's just like, oh God, it's sickening to fucking say. It's sickening. I mean, like, I'm not defending either, but the hypocrisy is just outrageous. And it's funny because some of these people want to accuse me of hypocrisy, but it's like, I don't know. I'd say the same thing if they were doing the same thing that the groups I was fucking criticizing were doing, but they're not. That's not the same thing. It's not the same thing to storm the Capitol building as it is to just terrorize random people. And I don't care what your fucking gripe is. This is what I said all summer long, and I'll keep saying it. I don't care what your grievance is. I don't care how legitimate it is. You don't have the right to just go around victimizing random innocent people who had nothing to do with it. It's a little bit of a different thing to bring the fight to the government. Again, not advocating it, but I feel differently about that than I do about, attacking random people. And the idea that I have to fucking explain that, to fucking anybody, it's like the fact that, like, there you have left-wing violence that's aimed at random people, and the Libertarian Party can't condemn that. But then you have right-wing violence aimed directly at the state, at the empire, but that gets condemned swiftly, immediately. I mean, that's like, come the fuck on, man. It's just insane.
I think it's interesting that both sides are like whiny kids at this point. Like, how come they don't get in trouble for this? And both sides feel like the other side's not getting in trouble, which is bringing back to that initial point where I said we need to know, hey, is Donald Trump lying? We also need fucking clear-cut rules on if you're destroying property, you're in trouble. Like, you just need actual enforcements that otherwise just everyone, we're living in whiny bitch land. Everyone's like, how come they get away with it?
Well, that is true. There's no question that is true. But the truth is that it's like you hear, it's almost like we're living in two different realities, which is like, the case with a lot of this shit, and maybe even 3 or 4 or 5 different realities, because I think we're living in a different reality than both sides. But it is interesting to see how people can so blatantly look at one event and then the other and have a completely different opinion when it's their side. So, for example, how do you think the corporate press or the Libertarian Party, high ranking people or whatever, the people who run the Twitter and the fucking, chair and all that shit, how do you think they would feel when someone said this today about the protest? They said, the whole point of protesting is to make people uncomfortable. Activists take that discomfort with the status quo and advocate for concrete policy changes. Popular support often starts small and grows. To folks who complain about protest demands making others uncomfortable, that's the point. Yeah, no, that was AOC. But she said that this summer about the riots. Now imagine someone, now here's the fucking thing, right? You have and this is the dynamic always, right? All of these fucking Republicans, everybody who wants to be respectable, the Libertarian Party included, they rush to condemn this. They can't get out. I mean, the Libertarian Party is like tripping over itself to fucking condemn these people again for violating the Capitol building, for desecrating Congress. So they're all tripping over each other to condemn it. Oh, this is horrible. See, I'm not one of the bad guys. I'm not one of the bad guys. But the left, they don't play by those same rules. Like when the leftists are violent in the streets, they excuse it. They go on there. See, this is part of the reason why they win. Okay, is because they don't piss off their radicals. They don't throw them under the bus. They don't go, hey, oh my God, it was so horrible that these 7 cities were burning last night. They go, no, police brutality is horrible. Racism is horrible. This is the voice of the disenfranchised, or yada, yada, whatever she just said. Protesting is supposed to make people uncomfortable and all this shit. They defend their fucking people and they get them in line to support them. Whereas the fucking people on the right rush. They just have this crazy rush to fucking, condemn all of this shit. And then they're still cast as the fucking villains. It's not as if this buys them any favor from the corporate press or from academia or politicians or anything like that. They're still cast as the fucking villains. It's just like, okay. So now they fucking lose all of their radical energy. And they still get nothing for it. It's really, it's fucking incredible that people are so quick to condemn their own side for nothing. It's anyway. Okay. What else did I want to talk about? There was one thing. A bunch of people on Twitter were giving me shit. So maybe I'll just fucking address that. Because fucking, so I had a tweet that I put out in
Can we talk about to what extent you think this is going to escalate? Because this is just kind of, in some ways, this is round one. These are just the people that were showing up, I guess, to protest the confirmation. But there's no reason to think that this should be the last protest.
Well,
or that other people might go, oh fuck, look, it's going down. Let's go to Washington. Or fuck Washington. We're Texas. We're seceding. I'm just wondering, because do you think there's any chance that the spark's just been ignited and people are going to ramp up, or there's going to be a show of force and this is just going to be squashed?
I don't think this is going to be the spark. I think this will be squashed and they won't let this fucking this go on for too much
Trump's
longer.
A pussy.
That's my guess.
If Trump actually stood up and said, fuck the government, Texas, I'm coming over and we're succeeding, then they would do it. But otherwise, this is like a movement without a leader. If Trump's being all right,
I'll tell you, man. And I was literally just like looking through the chat and I see it's fucking, I know I pissed some people off. It's funny because like at the beginning, like, and I'm like, oh, this was awful. And people are like, oh, you're apathetic or you're this or that or whatever. And then when I'm attacking the other side, some of the people like that. And then half look, man, I'm just going to fucking give you the truth as I see it. This is what I fucking do. Right. But here's the truth, right? I wish I could almost be more on board with this. It just sucks that you're doing it for Trump. You're standing up for this guy who would never do the same for fucking you. He doesn't care about you. This guy, I mean, I know.
And there's no values.
Listen,
it's not like his value is, hey, we're not going to inflate anymore. We're not going to have debt, or we're going to
lower. No, fucking go ahead, risk your life, get this fucking woman killed, get some fucking, go to jail for 3 years, get some fucking permanent terrorist charge on your record, get the entire right wing demonized, have this whole fucking show for what? What do you protect? So Donald Trump can get in there and we make sure that the fucking embassy stays in fucking Jerusalem instead of Tel Aviv. That's who fucking won from this shit. Nothing. He didn't do anything for you. He doesn't care about you. All this guy cares about, dude, is that he didn't lose. He won. I'm not the loser. I'm the winner. Joe Biden's the loser. I'm the winner. We had huge crowds. Like, that's who you're doing this for. So it's just like, I understand being frustrated by the whole fucking system and all of that. But like, I'm sorry. Like, this guy just is not what you're pretending he is.
Also, to your point of that Trump doesn't care about you, if he did, he might, like, if I was Trump and maybe he cared, he'd go, listen, I'm actually going to concede this thing, and in return, you're not going to prosecute anyone that stormed the Capitol. I'm going to tell him to stand back. And then he gets up and he goes, listen, democracy is important. We put up the fight that we could. I know I was cheated. You know I was cheated. We'll be back in 4 years. But let's not get violent, and they're going to not prosecute. But he's not going to do that because he doesn't give a fuck.
No, he doesn't. That's the thing. Trump's not going to war for you. Look, dude, if Trump could work out a deal where every one of these fucking people did life in prison, but he gets to go out as a winner, he'd make that deal in a fucking second. He's not sacrificing anything for fucking these people. He's also like, I mean, again, it's like, I do have some sympathy for the Trump voters who have been fucking demonized, assaulted for wearing a MAGA hat, like called racist for not supporting riots, like all of this fucking shit, and just, completely fucked over by the government in a million other ways. But I'm just saying, I don't think fucking I don't think he's the guy. I don't think he gives a shit about you.
Well,
so,
luckily, the government's probably not going to have to punish any of these people because there's a deadly pandemic. And if you don't wear a mask, you'll get it. So nature's going to get them anyways. They were in close quarters, storming buildings, breathing on each other. I feel bad for them. They're going to get a virus.
Yeah, you might be right. Okay, so I wanted to bring this up because people, a lot of people, a few people from the Cato Institute and a few other libertarians have been pouncing. Let me use the corporate press language. They've been pouncing on this tweet that I put up and calling me out for it. So I'll, I a few people told me I should delete the tweet. And I was like, no, I'm not going to fucking delete it. I said it at the time and I meant it. And, okay, if I was partially wrong, then fine. But so I tweeted out on the 1st of November, a week before Election Day, that I said, with all of this talk about riots and violence next week, this is only an issue if Trump wins, right? Does anyone actually believe that if Biden wins, right-wingers will be rioting in the streets? So, okay, I mean, I guess I could hide behind the fact that I was asking a question, but, obviously I was kind of making a point about that. But I don't know. It's like, all these people like trying to throw this in my face. What I was obviously referring to at the time was that all of these businesses in Washington, D.C. were boarding up. Do you remember this, Rob? They were all like boarding up their storefronts.
Puerto Rican parade.
Yeah, right before Election Day. And I was just making the point that this is obviously in anticipation of if Donald Trump wins, there's going to be mass riots that are going to be fucking destroying all of these fucking businesses. And I'm sorry, I was right about that. That's what they were concerned about. That's what they thought. Now, I'm not saying there haven't been protests or a few examples of violence, but it's been nothing like the type of rioting that we were talking about if Donald Trump had gotten reelected and won. So I don't know. You can keep throwing this at me. I just don't think it's something that I was really that wrong about. I mean, yes, certainly, if you're asking me if I predicted that the Capitol building was going to be occupied by Trump protesters, yeah, I didn't see that coming. I guess if you did see that coming, you could give me some shit about this, but I don't know. I don't think it was anything like that was that big of a blunder. I think pretty much everybody knows what I was referring to, and I think the spirit of what I said was right. But I will certainly admit that, yeah, I didn't see this one. I didn't see what happened today coming. All right. What else? Any other thoughts, Rob?
No, I'm just really curious to see how this plays out. If it leads to an escalation of further protests, if maybe some concessions are made to try and bring in the disenfranchised members of the Republican Party, or if we see major, a real crushing of social media and going after these people and ramping up of the police state and making sure that all senators are highly secured. And we're headed towards that thing. But who knows how it'll play out. But fucking awesome, dude. I had a lot of fun watching this shit today. I was tweeting out pictures of all the stuff that was going on. Talk about an exciting day.
Yeah, it was really something to watch. You were like, wow. I mean, that is not something that I've ever seen before. And I just it was exciting, even though it was a fucked up thing. It was definitely somewhat exciting to watch.
They need better plans though, because once they took the building, they're just walking around like, what are we supposed to do now? Like they should have brought like, I don't know, barbecues and fucking threw a party, just handed some burgers to the cops or just done something. It was a little bit weird once they got in there. Like, what am I supposed to do? Take a dump and AOC's desk, call it a day?
It does seem like they had no fucking real plan of what to do. I saw some people in the chat. I've just been scrolling through the chat in the last minute, and some people were saying they think they were agent provocateurs who were in the crowd who did this. You kind of got hinted at that earlier, or said that earlier. It's possible. Who the fuck knows? But I don't. If I don't have evidence of that, it also seems quite possible that it was just some Trump supporters who were fucking a worked up fucking mob. But yeah, I think they really didn't have a plan. Again, like I was saying, I just think it's
here's what's next. They kill Trump, they say Iran did it, and then they all start talking about how you're not allowed to kill our presidents and we go to war with Iran.
Yeah, well, I doubt they're gonna get a war in Iran out of this, but I do think that
no, they're gonna say Iran killed him. They're gonna pretend like it was an Iranian assassination.
Yeah, I doubt it, but I think that this will ultimately, I think this will hurt Trump. I think it will peel off not a ton, but a little bit of conservative support for the Trump protests and the stop the steal.
Trump also looks like a fucking pussy. He can't show up at the next rally and be like, we're gonna fucking do something, because they're gonna be like, well, we showed up to do something and you told us to stop. So
well, did you see the thing that maybe we'll just talk about that for a quick minute before we get out of here? But did you see before this happened earlier today that Pence put out that letter basically saying that he doesn't have the authority to stop the election from going forward, and then Trump was like shitting on Pence, which is so weird. For some reason, that's even weirder than all of the shit of him going out like this. Like he's just going out like fucking
I think
crazy.
Pence had his back like the entire time. And for as crazy as Trump's been, Pence has been out there for the most part being like, he's the president, and so I support him. So this was Trump's Hail Mary, where all these, I mean, on paper, from what I understand, you've got a procedure here where people can say that they're not allowing the delegates from whatever state. But I saw Thomas Massey say the numbers don't add up and there wasn't actually a way to refute this. But in some way, I think it comes down to Pence gets to make the call. And so he was just saying, yeah, I'm not going to decide against the voters. So this is the first time that Pence was just like, no, Trump's I'm done with Trump. And that's because he knows that it's over and they're on the way out. So he just made his bed that he's no longer on Team Trump. He's in Team Government. And as Biden comes in, I'm sure Pence is going to get his payday and, some sort of a war contract or however these guys make their money. Book deal. I'll get a better book deal.
Well, it's like if your concern is, again, this is the thing with fucking Trump. It's like if your whole thing is draining the swamp, then don't put all these fucking swamp creatures around you. I don't know. I'm sick and tired of fucking, I'm out of any sympathy for Donald Trump for, the swamp sabotaging him when they're people that he picked. You know what I mean? Like it's one thing when it's like the fucking CIA or the FBI or some shit like that, but it's like, yeah, you know what? Like when John Bolton fucking undermines your North Korea peace deal, that's on you, because you made John Bolton the national security advisor. He shouldn't have been at that table to begin with. And I've never liked Pence and always felt that he was a fucking just kind of typical shitty establishment Republican. And
McConnell also didn't get his back. McConnell was the one who started it off with, hey guys, we had a process here. You were able to bring your court cases. You brought your court cases. Your own judges didn't approve this. So There's no voter fraud. Let's move on with our lives.
Yeah. Let me check the chat real quick. Maybe answer a couple questions, take a couple comments.
No, you're gay.
There you go. That Rob's just starting with a preemptive. Pardon Assange, Snowden, Ross. Yeah, don't hold your fucking breath. Don't. I'm done counting on fucking fucking Trump to do anything. Weakest boogaloo ever. Yeah, maybe. That's because the fucking none of these people are actually ready for a fucking civil war. And I'm not saying that in a condescending way. Like, I'm not either. But, no one here is really talking about a fucking, I mean, maybe they're talking about it, but they're not fucking leading any revolution or something like that. I guess Dave is running for the leader of the Women's Libertarian Party.
Well, that's where the women are. So fuck yeah. Get me in there.
The Women's Libertarian Party. What are there, like fucking 6 of us?
As long as they put out, that's all you need.
Let me see. Paul Massey, 2024. That'd be an interesting ticket. Do you think Trump supporters are getting red pilled against the cops? Yes. That is going on with a whole lot of them. And that, I talked about this with Michael Malice on his podcast the other day. I'm not sure if that's up yet, but that might be out tomorrow. We talked about that on
today's episode also. Is today's, we're still putting out today's, right?
Yeah, we're going to put this out all as one. I think this will be the first part of it. And then what we recorded earlier will be the second part. So it'll be a nice long episode tomorrow for people who didn't listen to this. And if you're just listening to this live, we did another, hour or so earlier today on the Senate elections and shit. So, all right, hold on. Let me say fucking, Dave, the government is illegitimate. Also, Dave, we should respect government property. Well, I don't know what the fuck you got that from. I'm not saying you should respect government property. That was kind of my whole fucking point, is I'm not going to stand up and defend government property. I'm just saying that if you're just going to fucking rush government property, like if just you and your buddy are going to go try to overtake a police station, it's probably a bad move and you're probably going to get you and your buddy killed. And it's not about respect for the property. I'm just saying, be smart if you're going to fucking do it. Tell the Mises Caucus to unban your followers. Well, I don't know what you did to get banned, but I will try. Keith Knight in the chat. What's up, Keith? I got to have him back on the show sometime soon. Love that guy. But right as I looked at your comment, like 50 more comments came up and I lost it. So I love you, Keith, but I'm sorry you just lost your comment. But I'll get you back on the show sometime soon if you're interested, brother. Do you think the DC riots are over or more action tonight? That's an interesting question. I don't know. Are there still people like protesting down there right now? I'd have to check that out. Dave is the man. That's an excellent comment. Can I just say, Alex, that was an excellent comment. I am the man. Never thought about it like that before. How do you rate the memes from this event? I really haven't seen that many. Share.
Dude, I was memeing it up.
Tweet some good ones at me if you got some. Tell Malice to unblock me. I could, but it won't do any good. Trust me, I can't get you unblocked from Michael Malice. That's just out there to everybody. I just can't help with that. If Michael Malice has blocked you, he's not going to unblock you. Or at least not because I tell him to. When are you going on Tim Pool? When Tim invites me on, I'm happy to fucking do it. Let me see what else you got. All right. Do you think, holy shit, it's too many fucking, I hate trying to read off this fucking YouTube chat because they just go so quickly.
Just ask them nicely to be one at a time. They'll listen.
Do you think this fuels sentiments and further support for balkanization? Yeah, probably, right? I mean, yeah, this is there certainly is. We are coming apart as a nation, and there's no question about that, and there's no question that, this was a point that I made, several times on a few of these podcasts, that it's like, this is a different thing. This Trump base right now, this is a different thing than even the Democrats or anything like that. It's not like they don't like the president, but they like the whole rest of the government. They're against it all. They've been completely, turned off to the whole fucking thing. You should get Actual Justice Warrior on one time. Yeah, I know who that guy is. I've seen a couple of his YouTube videos. Yeah, they were good. I don't know him. I don't have like a fucking connect for him, but I have watched a couple of his videos that I thought were very good. So yeah, sure. I'd be down to talk with that guy. Dave, Nick Fuentes was in the Capitol. Could you see him actually going to jail for trespass? Crazy. Was he in? Was he like inside the fucking Capitol? That's not good if he was. Shit. That's not good if he was. Is that true? Can anyone confirm that? Was he actually in the building? Because if he was in the fucking building,
He was pushed inside. I told you, people from the back. I don't know anything about Nick.
I hope that's Nick was outside. Someone's saying now. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. If he was outside, that's fine. And if he was inside, you got to be careful, a guy like that, because they might try to make a fucking example out of that guy. Nick Fuentes was not in the building. Okay, a whole bunch of people are saying now that he wasn't in the building. Okay.
Do we care?
Fake news.
I mean, if he went, I don't know who he is. I know you've said the name.
Yeah, no, he's a guy I've had on the podcast a couple times. Fake news. Nick Fuentes did not get arrested. Okay, he was outside. Like a whole bunch of people are saying he was outside now. Okay, no, I didn't know about that, and I saw one person saying he was outside.
He was a pussy amongst the protest.
As long as he was outside, he'll be fine. But if you're inside that fucking building and you're somebody who's known, and if they wanted to, they wanted to make an example out of you, so you got to be careful with that shit. Because I don't know, but my guess is like there's probably some fucking crazy charges they could fucking throw at you. So I don't know. Anyway, but everyone's saying he was outside the building, so that's fine. Okay, I get it. He was outside. Now just a million people are like, he was outside. He was outside. I know. I understand. I'm sorry. I just saw one person fucking commented. Fucking Nick Fuentes is here. I just go, he's right behind you. All right. Will Fifth Column have you? Oh, the podcast, Fifth Column? I don't know. I think they invited me on once and I had to cancel. And then they just never invited me on again. So why no super chats, leaving money on the table? Well, you know what it is? I mean, I could do it. I just feel like if I monetize this fucking channel, I'm just going to get banned real quick. That's kind of how I've always felt. So if I don't want to monetize the channel and then just fucking lose it. I'd rather just have a YouTube channel. And I feel like they're
just waiting for you to go. Oh, he took a couple bucks. Boom.
I've said a lot of fucking words that I shouldn't. I said, do you still talk to Owen Benjamin? I haven't talked to Owen in a little while, but it was probably a couple months ago. Last time.
He's the worst person to lose contact with. The word's going to shit, and he's got his own farm with chickens.
I love Owen. He's Owen's my fucking brother. I'll always love that guy. All right. Dave's pimple 2024. Oh, dude.
You don't even have a pimple. Nice. Where's your pimple?
I don't even see it. Where's my big pimple? I got a few. What are you gonna do? All right. I'll take like one or two more fucking questions, and then we're gonna fucking wrap this up, and move on. All right. Don't monetize, monopolize. There you go. That's fucking some woke shit right there. Pretty sure Dave identifies as an anarchist. That is correct. Have Camille Foster on? Sure, absolutely. I was supposed to have him on a while back. We went back and forth, messaged, and he's down to do it. So yeah, I'd love to. What do we got? Hotep Jesus podcast. Fuck yeah. I'd love to do a podcast with Hotep Jesus. Absolutely. Why does my shoulder hurt? My shoulder hurts because I've been fucking playing with that Oculus. Well, okay, fair enough. But mainly because of that Oculus boxing game. Okay. All right. Let's fucking do it. Let's wrap it up there. Crazy fucking day. Is there anything that we fucking missed that I should have goddamn said? I don't know. Yeah, I think we covered all of it. I'm sure there's a lot of other fucking hypocrisy out there that we could have pointed to, but yeah. Someone just wrote Tom Woods. Tom Woods, he's the fucking man. That's the fucking goat right there. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll put this out as part of our episode from today, and then we got a whole nother regular episode. So it'll be a nice long one. That'll be out tomorrow.
You have to do like a phony segue so that people know what the second half is.
This goes, yeah, okay. So that was really great conversation. So now let's talk about other stuff. Was that good? Was that good enough? Yeah, whatever. We don't need a good transition. It'll just fucking cut in. Hey, man, this is really interesting. So let's talk for an hour about other unrelated things now. All right. That's it. We're getting out of here. All right. Peace, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the people who listen to this part live. And thanks to everybody else who listened to it not live. All right. Goodbye.